Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today in my video. Originally I was going to record this last night as a celebration video to congratulate Arcade1up on 5 years in operation. I do still want to congratulate them, but I do have some gripes now. I decided to wait until after the Arcade1 update today to record this video, and I'm glad that I did. That was a very disappointing Arcade1 update because they were celebrating the 5 years they've been in business. I expected a lot more out of this Arcade1 update. I really did expect them to announce something. I was hoping we might get an announcement for a brand new cab that nobody saw coming. Even if it was something in the future, at least it was an opportunity. I thought that they could have announced something brand new to get the community excited. They talked about some updates coming to cabinets. They talked about Blitz, but they said there were going to be updates coming to some of the other cabinets as well, but they didn't tell us what they were. As far as I know, based on what they said, they kind of hinted that there would be updates announced next month, but I don't like getting an update that there's going to be an update next month. That's not a good announcement. It's not good to announce that you're going to announce something. That sucks. I think they should have announced something. And so I didn't really like that. I didn't like that they announced that they're going to announce an update next month. If you're going to tell us something, tell us now. If you know you're going to tell us something next month, then you can tell it to us today. I know there's a lot of people that were probably frustrated by that. I certainly was. And so I think it's going to be about Mortal Kombat. Not just Mortal Kombat probably, but it was kind of suggested because people were asking specifically about Mortal Kombat. So I think they're going to be bringing spectate mode to Mortal Kombat. Very hopeful that's what they're going to do, but that is something that's been wished for in the past by people, and it has taken a very long time to get there, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But hopefully that's what it is, and they'll be able to include Mortal Kombat in the tournaments in the future. The big announcement was that they're doing a tournament. But if you don't have a Capcom cabinet, which at the time I don't, and when I did have a Capcom cabinet, it was the first generation Street Fighter, so it didn't have online. But anyway, yeah, if you don't have a Capcom cabinet at the moment, then you're just kind of out of luck on that. So I won't be able to participate in that. I'm not going to rush out to buy one today. I was waiting on Dynamo. I'm planning to get that when it comes out. So anyway, other than that, nothing special really got announced. Some of the questions did answer some questions the community had. They were up front that about the people who've left the company when they were asked about that. There were some other questions that were answered well. Some of the questions weren't really answered, and they dodged the question. Cyrus dodged the question when he was answering, which isn't anything new. I'm not surprised by that. I was glad some of the questions got answered, but really, in the end, I didn't really care about the questions. A lot of it was stuff that we already knew anyway, and yeah, it was a letdown. I was really let down by this Arcade1 update. It should have been a lot more than it was. And so now this is a little less happy of a video. I still want to celebrate and say happy 5th birthday, Arcade1up. Congratulations on 5 years. That's a really big accomplishment that you've been in business that long. A lot of people didn't think it was going to last very long at all. I just want to go back and look back at 2018 and talk about the beginning of Arcade1up and how things started with the company from a perspective, my perspective, the perspective of a buyer. So when I first heard about Arcade1up in 2018, I was very excited about the idea of an affordable home arcade cabinet that I could get. When they announced that first lineup, there was the Street Fighter, Final Fight, Rampage, Asteroids, and Asteroids Centipede, I think. I don't remember. So the one that appealed to me the most was Rampage. So I bought the Rampage cabinet, and mainly the reason it appealed to me, I'm a fan of Rampage, and it had 3-player controls, so more people could play on it than just 2 people, which I liked. So I could play it with my friends. I do realize that it is a small control deck, and it's not one that's easy to play with 3 players, and I really didn't get to play 3 players on it much at all. But I did a couple of times on that cabinet. The main game that attracted me to the cabinet was Gauntlet. I'm a big fan of Gauntlet. Now, it did only have the 2-player ROM on there, and so that was the only version available on that cabinet to play. There were a lot of other issues. The sound, they had a mono speaker on there, and so some of the sounds were missing on Gauntlet. And in fact, the first PCB on Gauntlet had a huge issue because on the one of the levels past 30, I think, it would just totally, there was a huge glitch that you wouldn't be able to move any further in the game. Like, it was terrible. So they fixed that. And actually on that first PCB too, the word Gauntlet is misspelled on the start screen. But they did send a replacement PCB to everybody who requested one for free to fix that issue. So it did fix that issue. Sound was still an issue on any game that was supposed to have stereo sound. So that was unfortunate on that cabinet, but it controlled fine. The games were fun to play. They weren't too demanding on what you did. I really found myself falling in love with Joust though because of that cabinet. So I'm really grateful for the Rampage cabinet, even with the faults it had, because even though I'd played Joust as a kid, I never really was good at it as a kid, and I never really thought about the game, about getting into it again as an adult until I had that cabinet. And I did get really good at Joust. Well, let me go back. I got decent at Joust. It did help me get a lot better. I can consistently get around 100,000 now, and I'm trying to get better and better at it. But if not for Rampage, I never would have discovered my love for Joust. So I do appreciate that Arcade1up cabinet for that. Now, I bought the Rampage cabinet on the first day that it was available. So I was in with Arcade1up on opening day, bought the Rampage cabinet, loved it. After I put it together, it was really easy to put together, and I had a great time playing the games on it. And like I said, Joust became one of my favorite games. I still have the PCB that I had to replace. This has all the games on it, but it has, like I said, it has the Gauntlet that does not work past, I think it's level 34. So I'll always have a piece of that machine, even though I've sold it, but I did have to upgrade eventually when there were better options available from Arcade1up. So after Rampage came out, I had that cabinet for a long time as my only Arcade1up cabinet. I did eventually buy the Street Fighter II cabinet, that was the Generation 1 Street Fighter II, but I didn't buy that until the following year. So I believe it was October of 2018 when Arcade1up launched their initial lineup, and that's when I bought Rampage on opening day. And then in 2019 on Black Friday, there was a deal on Street Fighter II at Walmart. And so I ordered that online, and I picked it up. And so I got a good deal, Black Friday deal on it, and picked it up. So that was my second Arcade1up cabinet. I didn't have that till the following year. And so that was when, so then I had 2 cabinets. And the Street Fighter was a good cabinet. I didn't like that there weren't any options on the cabinet to change difficulty settings for any of the games. And again, there was a huge sound issue because it was a mono speaker that was located on the control deck. And a lot of the sounds were missing for half the characters on some of the games. So I think on Street Fighter 2, it did have mono sound. But then when you had Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, both of those games had stereo sound, and I think the sounds were missing for one side of the control deck, basically, for one of the players. So that really wasn't good as far as sound. Gameplay wise, it was okay. I did replace the sticks in that Street Fighter cabinet with Sanwa sticks, so it had a lot better sticks. I never replaced the buttons, but I did eventually sell that cabinet as more and more Street Fighter cabinets got released from Arcade1up. I knew eventually I was going to get a better cabinet that had online play and had options that I could go through for settings. So I knew that I would have to upgrade eventually. So I went ahead and sold it, knowing that that would come in the future, although I still have never upgraded to a different Street Fighter cabinet all this time. But I think it's finally going to happen with the Dynamo coming up. When they announced the 4-player Ninja Turtles cabinet, I knew I wanted it, and I put it off for a long time. It would be the first cabinet that was more than 300. So that initial Rampage was 300 retail. The Street Fighter was retail 300. Again, I think I got it for 200 maybe on Black Friday. It may have been 250, but I got the Street Fighter. I also bought risers for both of those cabinets at the time as well. But the Turtles was coming out. It was 4 players. It had it came with a riser, custom riser, 4 Turtles, and it was going to be 400. I think it was 400 when it came out. So it was a little bit more. So I put it off. I didn't want to go ahead and spend that much on it, and I just waited. And eventually, I ended up buying it on Facebook Marketplace from a guy in town locally who was selling it for, I think he sold it for $200. So I bought it for $200. So I got a good deal on it. I still have the Ninja Turtles, and it's a great cabinet. I do wish it had online play. That's the one benefit that the Turtles in Time cabinet has over the original Turtles cabinet. However, if I did change it and get the Turtles in Time to upgrade, I would be getting the Turtles in Time artwork. And a big part of these cabinets for me is the artwork on the cabinets. And I absolutely love the original artwork on the Ninja Turtles cabinet. The artwork for the first Ninja Turtles arcade game is the best artwork of the two, and so I couldn't upgrade it for that reason. I am hoping in the future that there will be an XL offering of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I can have more space for the control deck, a bigger screen, and that it will have the same original Ninja Turtles artwork on it. But for now, I am keeping this cabinet. My 4th cabinet, it would be the Miss Pac-Man cocktail table or head-to-head table, which I probably am going to be selling soon. I love the Miss Pac-Man table. I've always wanted a cocktail table, but it is something where I would rather invest in a full-size table, or if they ever offer an XL table, I would get that. But it's not that it's too small. I can still sit at it comfortably and play games, but all of the games on the Miss Pac-Man table are on the Pac-Man cabinet, and the Pac-Man also has some other games that are not on the Miss Pac-Man. In fact, when I sell the Miss Pac-Man, the only game I will be losing is Miss Pac-Man. Also, the games on Miss Pac-Man do not have any settings option, so you cannot play fast Miss Pac-Man on there. You can't change any other settings if you want to. And so that's another reason that I'm probably, that's another reason that I'm comfortable selling the table, because I'm not really losing out on anything, and it'll give me more space here in my arcade, because there are some other cabinets that I'm planning to get later on this year and into next year. Golden Axe was first announced. I was very excited because Revenge of Death Adder was on there, and I've never been able to play Revenge of Death Adder in emulation. I played it a lot as a kid in the arcades, but the only way to play that game was really to play it in the arcades on an actual arcade machine. Every emulated version I've played is either very slow, or there's issues with the graphics. You can definitely tell some of the emulation. For example, You could play an emulated version where the shadows are messed up and you can tell. Or sometimes when you're moving, the screen messes up if you're moving on the plane where you're moving up the screen. So that can be an issue with the emulated versions of Golden Axe. So either you get a version that looks good but it's really slow, or you get a version that is just messed up in certain areas. I've never seen it emulated completely properly before, so getting it in an Arcade1up cabinet was fantastic. The cabinet looks great. The only problem I have with the cabinet is it does not have online. Now, when it came out, the NBA Jam cabinet had already come out, and the NBA Jam cabinet had online. So I don't know why they didn't put online into the Golden Axe cabinet. But for whatever reason they didn't. It does not have online. There's still not an online model of the Golden Axe cabinet. In the future, maybe they'll do a Golden Axe Deluxe and add that online play into it. But right now, this is all we have. It's one of their best cabinets, and I highly recommend anyone who's interested in it to go ahead and get it if you can for a good price or the retail price that it released at. I originally missed the first release of the cabinet. Thankfully, it got re-released the following year, earlier in the year, and I was able to pick it up then. So up until this year, all my Arcade1up cabinet purchases had been very spread out. I purchased them while I was still living with a friend of mine. Moved into my own place in 2022. So when I moved into my own place, I didn't buy anything after I moved in, but it was after I moved in that I did sell my Street Fighter cabinet. When we got to 2023 and they announced that they were re-releasing Star Wars, I jumped on it. That was a very exciting Arcade1up update because they announced Star Wars and that it was available right then. And so right then I bought it and had it shipped to me. It is one of the best cabinets that they've ever made. It plays wonderfully. The only thing I would want it to have that it doesn't have is online leaderboards. It does not have that because it's using the exact same PCB, I believe. Well, I take that back. I believe there was some change made to the PCB, but generally it is the exact same PCB as the original. They didn't really make any updates, so there's no online leaderboards. That would have been nice if they had added it, but it's not the end of the world. And I have a lot of fun playing that cabinet. I've gotten decent at Star Wars. I love playing that, and Return of the Jedi. Empire Strikes Back, I still have a long way to go on, but it's a good cabinet. I'm really glad they released it that year. But also, in 2023, obviously, you can see them here. I bought the Pac-Man Deluxe and the Mortal Kombat Deluxe. And so, all of a sudden, instead of my purchases being far apart, they were releasing stuff this year that I was interested in. Now, I did not have any of the previous Mortal Kombat cabinets. I did have that Rampage cabinet, but this was so much better than the Rampage. The games that were on the Rampage cabinet that are on here, you can play them online. They have online leaderboards. And then, especially with Gauntlet on this cabinet is way better than it was on the Rampage cabinet because there's no sound issues. You have stereo speakers in here. And also you could play online with up to 4 people. So this actually has 4-player Gauntlet on it, which is fantastic. So that really makes this so much better than that Rampage cabinet. The Rampage cabinet had the Rampage art on it, which is nice, but ultimately I upgraded to this and sold the Rampage. After I bought the Mortal Kombat 2, I did not think I was going to get the Pac-Man, but I changed my mind, and I ended up getting the Pac-Man, and I love it. The games on it are great. One of the main things that attracted me to it was that Rolling Thunder is on the Pac-Man cabinet, and that was not on the Miss Pac-Man table that I have. So I really wanted that game. Also, the settings options on here was another big factor in me buying it. Also, the online leaderboards. When I played the Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet and saw the online leaderboards and actually experienced them and getting to see everybody else's scores, it really pushed me to want to get an online Pac-Man cabinet that had Galaga on it and Pac-Man and all those games. They did have the other deluxe cabinet, the class of '81, but I did not get that. I wasn't interested in getting it at the time because it was a lot of the same games as this. It did have Miss Pac-Man, but it had that split art. I would rather have a full Miss Pac-Man cabinet. There was some other stuff released this year, Fast and the Furious, which if I ever got a chance to get it at a cheaper price and I could get two of them and hook them up together, it'd be interesting. But at the same time, I understand the issues people have with the fact that it's just Tokyo Drift split into two games, which I didn't know that's what it was going to be at first. And also, I'm mainly interested in those games just as the fact that they are kind of like Cruisin', and we're probably never going to get Cruisin'. That would obviously be a dream game of mine, would be to be able to get Cruisin' USA. But I think I will wait and get a different driving cab, especially if there was an XL version of Outrun released. Outrun is one that I skipped that I regret skipping. Another one I skipped that I regret skipping is Burger Time because of Karate Champ on there. And I probably should have gotten Burger Time when it was available. It was available for a long time on the website. I don't have anybody to blame but myself. I hope maybe we'll get a deluxe or an XL in the future for Burger Time so I can right the wrong that I skipped it. But we'll see what they do. Speaking of XLs, I'm kind of irritated that this Pac-Man Deluxe came out this year, and then not too long after we find out that they're releasing the Pac-Man XL in Costco, and the Pac-Man XL is available now. I wish I had that information at the time, and I would have skipped this completely because the Pac-Man XL is only $100 more. It's bigger. This has a 17-inch screen. The Pac-Man XL has a 19-inch screen. I don't care about the light-up buttons up here that they put on it, but it does have a light-up coin door. The coin door is higher. It looks better. Will I upgrade to it? I don't know. When I bought Mortal Kombat, it was not an upgrade from another Mortal Kombat. I bought this Deluxe because I didn't have a Mortal Kombat yet, and I was replacing the 4 games on Rampage, and it has all the other games as well. So it has 14 games total. This same thing, 14 games. It wasn't replacing another cabinet, even though it has some of the same games as Miss Pac-Man. When I bought this, it wasn't to replace Miss Pac-Man. It was because I didn't have a Pac-Man at all. And the form factor is beautiful. Looks like Pac-Man. The slanted screen was another reason I was so attracted to this. So I really wanted this cabinet. But now, do I upgrade to the XL? If I do, which may happen, I'm going to give this to my girlfriend because she's a big fan of the games on here. If she's over at my place and she disappears, I can guarantee she'll be on here playing Dig Dug, or she'll be playing Galaxian or Mappy or something else on here. But Dig Dug and Galaxian are probably her favorites on this cabinet. So I think I'm going to give this to her if I upgrade to the XL. And so she'll appreciate this, and then I'd have the XL. But I don't know if I'm doing that yet. If I do, it'll be down the line, because I think the next things I'm looking at is that Street Fighter, which I think comes out later this year, and the Time Crisis, which comes out this year. So I'm definitely looking at those two and adding those. All this to say, I am a fan of the Arcade1up products. I am still planning to get an Act Games Legends Ultimate, but I put off that plan because they announced their 4K cabinet. So I'm not an Arcade1up exclusive guy. I just happen to only have Arcade1ups at the time. But I do like their products. I like having that artwork that they put on their cabinets. I'm excited to see what they offer next year. I'm disappointed with what happened today in the Arcade1 update. I hope that next month's Arcade1 update is better. I hope we're not just getting an announcement about some updates they're doing to machines. I hope we'll get some kind of look into the future. I know this year they wanted to start announcing things closer to the actual release dates, so there weren't so much time in between the announcements, but I think that's a mistake. People want to know what's coming. People want some kind of roadmap. And we want to know what games are coming in the future so we can start preparing for that financially, because this is not a cheap hobby. So I hope that coming up in the one update next month, they'll actually give us some more information like that. But this was just a quick look at my history with Arcade1up. And again, happy 5 years to Arcade1up. I do like your products, even if I hated the Arcade1 update today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Please leave a comment below. What do you want to see from Arcade1up in the future? What improvements do you feel that they need to make? And I will catch you in the next video.